This looks like a normal JWST video. It isn't. Most videos stop at what was found and speculate about implications. This one follows the observations all the way to a physical explanation. And that path doesn't end where the Big Bang does. Hi, I'm CJ, and this is the biggest picture. Let's start with what JWST is actually showing. Not headlines, not reactions, just the observations. Very early galaxies with masses comparable to the Milky Way, structures that already look settled, not chaotic, not transitional. In some cases, entire regions show galaxies rotating in the same direction. These are not isolated findings. They repeat across different surveys, different teams, and different analyses. Taken on their own, each result might look surprising. Taken together, they form a pattern. The universe appears structured earlier, calmer earlier, and more organized than the standard picture expects. That doesn't make the observations strange. It makes the picture incomplete. This is usually framed as a problem. Something went wrong, something doesn't fit, something needs fixing. But in physics, this is exactly how progress happens. Observations don't exist to protect a theory. They exist to test how much reality a theory can carry. When new data arrives, it doesn't ask whether a model is popular or established or useful. It simply adds weight. And when that weight causes strain, there's a choice. You can reinforce the structure, you can keep patching, you can keep adjusting, or you can ask a simpler question. Isn't this exactly what the scientific method is supposed to do? Let observations apply pressure and see what survives. If the framework holds, it earns its place. If it bends, it shows you where it's weak. And if it can't carry the load, that tells you something even more important. It tells you the picture is unfinished. This isn't confusion. This is information. This tension didn't come from outside cosmology. It was already there, inside the theory itself. Late in his career, Stephen Hawking began to step back from treating the Big Bang as a physical beginning in time. Not because observations failed, but because the theory couldn't describe a real process running in real time. The solution was subtle. Time itself was removed from the beginning. The Big Bang became a boundary, not a physical event. That move avoids a contradiction. But it also changes something important. A boundary doesn't explain how something happens. It only marks where the explanation stops. And once a theory reaches that point, it isn't finished. It's paused. At this point, most discussions go in a familiar direction. Timelines are adjusted, efficiencies are tweaked, new early phases are proposed. But notice what all of those have in common. They assume the picture itself is basically right, and only the details need work. So, let's stop doing that for a moment. Instead of asking, how do we stretch this model to fit the data, ask a different question. What kind of universe would make these observations unsurprising? What kind of universe wouldn't need fixing at all? Let's slow this down for a moment, because the tension around the Big Bang isn't emotional, it's mechanical. The Big Bang was always described as an explosion, and explosions are physical things. They happen to something, they release stored energy, they expand into something, and they leave behind turbulence, shock, and gradual settling. But none of that was ever described. We were given a direction, expansion, without a mechanism that could run in real time. For decades, that gap was tolerated, because the observations were coarse enough that the picture still held. JWST changed that. What it's showing is not chaos struggling toward order. It's order already in place. Massive galaxies, calm structure, shared rotation, all appearing far earlier than an explosion model can reasonably produce. At that point, the problem isn't timing, it's the picture itself. So let me show you a different way to read what we're seeing. Start with this. The universe isn't empty. It's filled with a physical medium, something that can flow, respond, and be exchanged. Every atom continuously draws from that medium, not occasionally, not during events. all the time. Scale that up, and large collections of atoms, like the Earth, create a persistent inward flow. That inflow is gravity. But any continuous inflow raises an unavoidable question. Where does it go? On the largest scales, the universe answers that question for us. It forms vast voids, a foam-like structure, where the medium flows out through a higher dimensional gate. Inflow here, outflow there. That's equilibrium. In a universe like this, structure doesn't need time to slowly emerge. It's already supported, and what once looked like an explosion turns out to be something very different. Continuous flow mistaken for a beginning. What I've shown you here is only one part of the picture. Once you stop assuming empty space, a lot of other questions quietly fall into place. For example, whether the universe is finite or infinite. In this framework, it's both. Not as a word game, as a structural consequence. On screen, you'll see a few chapter titles. These are questions we only touched briefly here. Why structure appears immediately, why order doesn't need time to emerge, why no special beginning is required. In the book, those questions are worked out step by step, not as speculation, but as a connected physical picture. If you want to go deeper, the link is in the description. So when people say JWST changed everything, this is what they mean. It didn't arrive with opinions, it arrived with measurements, and those measurements added weight the old picture was never built to carry. When that happens, the outcome isn't confusion. The outcome is clarity. You don't patch a framework that can't carry the load, you replace it with one that can. And once you do, the universe doesn't look broken, it looks coherent. If this still feels uncomfortable, good. That's usually what happens right before a picture rearranges itself. And just so we're clear, I don't care if you like this, I don't care if you subscribe, do whatever you want. The ideas will still be here when you're ready.